Whole move?
But it doesn't really give you a lot of information about what's actually going on in your sim. Okay, velocity, yes, yes. So once again, just like my density, I can scale my velocity so I can make it really, really big, right? So I'm probably going to use enforcements to do this. All right, so let's look at this. Let me turn off. Yeah, so I can turn off visualize on this guy. So it's still on, right? It's still there. My velocity XYZ is still there. I'm just not viewing it, right? So this is confusing because this is different from the import, right? It looks the same, but this is just visualizing, not importing. All right, so let's do something with actually our, this guy, right? So I'm going to add a mountain to cruft this guy up, right? Because first thing we want to make an interesting emitter. Like a lot of your battle is done in the emitter, right? Before you even start simulating. So I'm going to take my offset. If I take my offset, I get this, right? So this is going to be pretty cool. So I'm going to take my offset, and I'm just going to say $. That should give me time. So if I give, I'm going to turn off my sim down here. You can turn your sim all on and off. So I just want, actually I want that to move upwards. I don't want it to move upwards. Right, yeah, so that's what I want. Right, this nice kind of undulating, because, why would I do this, right? Because of this trail sop, right? If I turn on right, they're kind of hard to see, but you see these little streamers, these little blue streamers here? That's my velocity being calculated. And that's what the trail sop is doing, view velocity. Right, so this guy is calculating my, so this guy is calculating my velocity, right? So if I look here, so I have a point and V. Before this, I only have a point, right? So I'm getting velocity from this object. The other thing I'm going to do is in my transform, I kind of want this to like go like in and out. So I think we need to do. Noise. I think I can do. Also do this. Actually, so let's do 1. So I'm going to do at frame 1, this guy will be kind of small. 0.1. And then water key turned on. Yes. So then about half second, it's going to get really big. At 1 second, it'll and yeah. So then, when I do my trails, I should see Yeah, so
Wow.
see those trails?
Mm.
So the faster it's moving, it's gonna bring out that velocity,
It's cool.
right? So that is all gonna get transferred into my emitter.
Yeah. Fascinating.
So I'm still getting that.
Second one.
This.
What is usual? Fluid source. Fluid source係點樣睇？Fluid source。就嗰度唔係。應該係。咁而家係整緊個 emitter 嘅 shape。
I'm losing my emitter. There.
Pyro.你識唔識？
上堂咧 tutorial 專教呢個嚇，唔係咯，唔使個 CGP 入邊。
有人都用。
Emitter.
What do you wanna make 啊？
唔會，不過你 keep 住你嘅 ratio。你 seed 嗰個
Lost my
file，
density.
你唔可以淨係
What
snatch。
do you wanna
你
make
單行之後得
for the things?
Anyway, there's something weird going on here.
Is
Usually,
that-
你話我咪得咯。
It's the dot level, right?
What?
So you're gonna do you have the file of the .NET? Because you have, if you want to use the density, you have to do the file crash of the .NET and then plug it back into the soft level, and then you get spit out the.
no, I'm not going back into the soft. I'm going straight into dot.
Oh, you want to go straight to the from dot to soft?
Yeah. No, sops goes into dops. Basically, I'm using this source, right? This source here is coming into,
Oh yeah,
Here.
you can do it.
right?
Yeah.
So this is pulling data from here and going into my Pyrosol. But the main problem is I've lost my.
Have you assigned a node to the surface and then just
No, you
use-
don't have to do that. Like that's the point of the fluid. I mean, I could do a null, but that's just for.
Somehow the technical is weird though.
Like I could do that, but that's just passing information, right? That's just. Right. So that's just passing that information in. The overarching problem is that I'm not getting. I should see a fluid volume here.
How about you turn off the mountain?
Like if I do,
Not really about
like that's a problem.
That's
Like this,
you can't get anything.
yeah, like this is a problem. There's something going on here.
have you
Give me a second.
is that the method you build from geometry, right?
Yeah.
You build it in the DOM, it's right? Is that
No, there's something going on. Because I had it, there's something wrong.
How about just we put the Houdini? Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I should be seeing my volumes, I'm not, like at all.
SDF from geometry.
Do you need an output? No.
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 No, I have an output, there's one here. And here's the output
佢
going from
要
here to
啤
here.
膠個住嗰門柱先可以整咯。
應該唔使嘅。
嚇？
唔使嘅，會突然間死咗。個 Houdini 死咗。
唔係啊，佢根本上佢兩個 network 都唔 connect。
有啊，打咗去。
My
唔
trail
係啊，
stuff.
佢 Houdini 嗰
Anyways.
個 我知。
That's enough for today. Let me try to figure out why Houdini beats me.
問題係佢 soft level 嘅嘢可以擺入 top level，但係 top level 嘅嘢未必可以擺入
唔係
soft
佢依家
level。
soft 版 block 㗎嘛
但係未必經常性可以咁咯。
，soft 版嘅 block 未必擺到。
係啊，
北極
唔係
啊
top 或者 soft。
唔係啊，佢而家 soft 版嘅 block。
但係如果你 soft 打落 top 嘅話，就有機會得咯。佢可能做錯咗啲嘢，
淨係要 soft 打好多字，唔係要 top。
佢要 build up 個，可能佢有冇 attribute 啊？
可以再攞 pad。
Oh, that's why. So stupid.
Oh, what happened?
So I
What's happened?
Alright. So
Huh?
yeah, so I forgot I animated it. So it's really small to start off with and then gets bigger.
哦。
Yeah, I'm a smart one. Super smart, you're a professor. Alright.
Yeah.
Okay, so I need to leverage this against like what my volume box is actually doing because I think this is really, really tiny.
Wow.
So you're doing something like that.
I think it's just like, let me turn on my grid. No, it should be big enough.
原來佢一路
Let me
遠
show,
唔
let
怪
me
之
go some other objects just to see. Yeah, it's pretty, that's plenty big.
去咗路遠，
Yeah, that's
即係喺度。
去咗好。
咁易破題嘅。
There we go.
哇！佢 container 都幾大。
Source volume add, and then so for velocity I'm gonna add. There we go. So it's expanding, it's taking, so now it's taking that velocity, right, and it's inheriting the velocity. So now it's like it's saying boom, 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 and it's even though it's expanded, right, like it's expanding, like that velocity is, that's like the idea of a fluid sim, right? The velocity is pushing material, right, and that material is trying to move from one spot to another. But there's already material there, like that's the main difference between volumes and particles. Particles give zero fucks about the environment that they're in, right? They're like, I'm going this way and I don't care. Unless you give them like some sort of drag or something, then they just kind of move in a direction. With fluid, right, there's pressure, right? So if I have like, let's say I have a tube of water, right? And that water tube is totally full. And I take like a syringe and I try to push more water into that tube, right? I'm not going to be able to, right? Because that's causing pressure, that's fluid. Because water is what we call an incompressible fluid, right? You can't squish water down, you can't compress water any more than very little, right? A compressible fluid is something like air or nitrogen, right? It's very thin, you can compress it. But if you push, in any case, if you push a part of that fluid, it's going to cause some amount of pressure on the fluid around it, right? So that's how we get like these tendrils and these curls, like these nice little things like this, right? Sorry that took so long. It's hard to do this and talk at the same time. I'm usually like listening to music when I do this stuff. So talking and making connections is never easy, right? So now we're starting to get like, this is much more interesting than that pighead. Like look at this little poof, like in these guys, right? So right now, like this is getting bigger, right? So, but for every time, every substep, I'm adding more density into the system, and I don't want to do that, right? Because that's why the center is so solid. Because even though we can't really see through this, like it's still adding density, right? So if I wanted to make an explosion, I would do. So let's say my source volume So we'll key this at 1 here, and then it's going to go boom, 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 up to 12, right? Actually, let me turn my brain off again. Not my brain, but this
Yeah.
brain. And then I'll key this here, and then from there down to there, I'm going to ramp it off really fast. So I'm adding lots of density coming in, and then boom, the density goes away. So density cuts off. And even though I'm not adding density, the density is there, is still being pushed through this medium. And that might even still be a little much.
It's too thick, maybe?
Too thick?
I can't see its stuff.
You keyframe the 0 up
What?
the 0, like
Did I keyframe the 0? Yeah, it's on auto key. Okay, so this is cool, right? Right, but there's one more thing I can do this. In my emitter, right, I can go into density. If I look here, let's go to a frame where there's actually stuff here going on here. Right, so I have like this is like super solid, right? Like it's packed, right? So what I want to do is I want to, like, much the way we did our added variation to our pighead fracture, we can do the same to this, right? We can just like punch holes in it. That'll make more interesting shapes, right? So, and this is why you would use the fluid source instead of just the ISO offset, because this is all built in. So under my volumes, under noise, I can say add noise, and you can see it like it's already like crufted it up a little bit, right? So I can do multiplicative, and that'll just kind of cut chunks out of it, right? So if I bring my amplitude up to 2, 10, right? I think that was good. Brain, make it really kind of chunky, turbulence, offset, and then even this I can add, right? So I can say. Right, so now I have this moving, my emitter is moving, right? It's got these chunks in it, right? So only where I'm seeing these chunks are gonna get emitted. So like I'll get like this really nice kind of extra texture out of this. And then also my velocity, what I can do, I'm gonna turn, maybe that's too high. Alright, so last thing, we'll see what this looks like. Here. Solver back on. So that looks way more interesting. And I think I'm still adding too much density in. But especially at the beginning, we got like those nice little kind of tendrils coming in. So maybe instead of this guy, maybe we should start at 0, go up to 1. Yeah, that feels better. So now we're getting, like, especially on these edges, right? It's not just like kind of like this evenly noisy round thing. You're getting like these kind of bits like here, like these little bits of detail, these little bits of detail. And it's kind of hard to tell like where my density actually is in here because like I'm not getting any of my lighting. Right? So if I come back into, let's do a dot field import, the dot import fields, and dot network is going to be want to import my here. I want to import .network .node.
The output.
There we go. Just need the smoke out there. You don't need the full path. So now now I can see it in my, so this looks a lot more interesting than that, right? Because here I'm not really getting any, I'm only seeing density. I'm not seeing shadows or anything. So this looks actually quite nice. Like you get like these really nice tendrils, this explosion effect, or like this is more like a magic poof more than an explosion. We'll get to explosion later. But the same thing, right? Like look what we have here, right? Like these little mushrooms, right? We still have those. We've minimized them. We've made them smaller, but we're still fighting with kind of like this kind of mushroom effect. And that's where things like microsolvers and drag and extra wind and turbulence and stuff come in, which we'll get into next class because I'm already way over time.
Scat design.
I think, yeah.
Just add a gradient
I
down.
think you can do this solver on this. Like you can
That is
just
just sketch design.
Then the cover.
I didn't watch it.
catalog.
Just for giggles, let
That's
me
okay.
plug in
Cat-
microsolvers.
Catalog.
有冇諗住參加？
我攞翻嚟。
Let me see.
Google 啦，咁多分。
嗰個係影相。
佢影出嚟㗎。咁你用 Houdini 啊
Sketch catalog.
Yeah, the cover